Edward walked into my office on a Tuesday morning feeling perfectly fine. 68 years old, recently retired engineer. His blood pressure reading that day was 124/78. Textbook. 3 weeks later, Edward had a minor stroke at 3 in the morning. He survived. But his wife called me that week, confused. She said, "Dr. Ray, his pressure was fine. How did this happen?" Here is what I had to tell her. Edward's pressure was not fine. It was fine at 9 in the morning in my office. But at 2 a.m. that night, while he slept, his pressure was 172/104 every single night, for years, and nobody had ever checked. Sit with me for a moment. I want to tell you something almost no one is telling adults over 50 in this country. My name is Dr. Raymond Holloway. For 18 years, I've practiced internal medicine with a focus on senior care. Today I want to talk to you about what your blood pressure is actually doing while you sleep, why half of all seniors over 65 have lost the nighttime drop that protects their heart, and the single evening drink backed by real clinical research that can help lower your blood pressure overnight. Stay with me. This might be the most important video I make this year. Here is what most adults over 50 have never been told. Under normal conditions, your blood pressure does something remarkable every single night. It drops by about 10 to 20%. We call this the dipping pattern. It is not optional. It is your cardiovascular system performing essential overnight maintenance. Your heart repairs itself, your blood vessels recover, your kidneys process waste, and every one of those processes depends on that nighttime pressure drop. But here is what changes after 60. Your arteries gradually stiffen, your vessels lose their elasticity, and your autonomic nervous system, the system that controls that nighttime drop, starts losing its rhythm. For millions of seniors, that nighttime dip simply stops happening. The pressure stays elevated. Sometimes it rises even higher while you sleep. You wake up tired, your head feels foggy, and you think you just didn't sleep well. But the real explanation is something very different, and almost no doctor ever measures it. We have a clinical name for people whose nighttime pressure doesn't drop. We call them non-dippers. And here is the number that stopped me cold when I first learned it. More than 50% of adults over 65 are non-dippers. More than half. Not a rare condition. The majority. What does that mean for outcomes? Non-dippers carry a cardiovascular mortality risk 3 times higher than people who dip normally, with identical daytime blood pressure readings, 3 times higher. Same daytime number, same medication, same diet, just from what happens during those 8 hours of sleep. And there is an even more dangerous pattern. We call them reverse dippers, people whose pressure actually rises during sleep, higher at night than during the day. For reverse dippers, stroke risk increases by 4 to 5 times, and they feel completely fine during a standard office visit. A standard office visit catches none of this. That is the diagnostic gap I want us to close today. Before I tell you about the drink, I need to tell you about 3 things already in your home that may be quietly making your nighttime pressure worse. The first is licorice root. It sounds harmless, an evening herbal tea, natural and calming. But licorice root contains a compound that blocks a specific enzyme in your kidneys. Without that enzyme, cortisol builds up in your bloodstream, and elevated cortisol at night means your pressure surges while you sleep. Check the label of your evening tea tonight. Licorice root hides under names like sweet root, glycyrrhiza, or even natural flavoring in herbal blends. The second is evening alcohol. The initial calming effect does temporarily lower blood pressure. That part is real. But 3 to 4 hours later, right in the deepest stage of sleep, your body overcorrects. Your pressure surges sharply, your cortisol spikes, and your blood pressure can reach its highest point of the entire day at 3 in the morning. The third is grapefruit juice, especially if you take medications like amlodipine or other calcium channel blockers. Grapefruit blocks the liver enzyme that breaks these drugs down. The medication accumulates, and what was designed to be gradual becomes prolonged, especially at night when no one is monitoring you. Now, the reason you are watching this video, the single best drink I tell my senior patients to have before bed. It's sitting on the shelves of most grocery stores, pharmacies, and health food stores, and almost no one is using it correctly. Hibiscus tea, specifically the dried flowers of Hibiscus sabdariffa. Before you dismiss this as another wellness trend, here is what the clinical research shows. Hibiscus contains compounds called anthocyanins, the same molecules that give blueberries, pomegranates, and red cabbage their deep color. These are powerful antioxidants that protect your arterial walls. But hibiscus also inhibits ACE, the angiotensin-converting enzyme, the same enzyme targeted by a major class of blood pressure medications. That is a real pharmacological mechanism found in a plant, studied and confirmed in multiple clinical trials. In patients with mild to moderate hypertension, daily hibiscus tea has shown systolic pressure reductions of 8 to 14 millimeters of mercury in people not on medication. That is clinically meaningful. But preparation matters. Weak hibiscus tea has almost no therapeutic effect, and most people make it far too diluted. Here is how to prepare it correctly. Use 10 grams of dried hibiscus flowers, not tea bags, not blends, actual dried flowers. Heat water to about 90 degrees Celsius and steep for 10 to 15 minutes. If it looks pale pink, it needs more time. The dose studied is 3 cups per day, but the most important cup is the one you drink 1 to 2 hours before sleep. That timing is when it has the greatest effect on what happens to your blood pressure overnight. One important caution: if you are already on blood pressure medication, do not add hibiscus without telling your doctor first. The effects can be additive. This is not a reason to avoid it. It is a reason to coordinate. Now, since we are talking about nighttime blood pressure, here are 3 tests most adults over 50 have never been offered, and your doctor will not order them unless you ask. First, ABPM, ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. You wear a small cuff for 24 hours while you go about your day. It takes readings every 30 minutes, day and night. This is the only test that captures your true nighttime pressure. Second, urine microalbumin. This detects tiny amounts of protein leaking into your urine when your kidneys are under stress. It appears years before other signs of kidney damage. Third, oxidized LDL. You know LDL as bad cholesterol. Oxidized LDL is the damaged form that is far more destructive to your arteries, and standard cholesterol panels do not measure it. ABPM, microalbumin, oxidized LDL. Ask for them by name. One more point. This may be one of the most important changes some of you could make. Most blood pressure medications are taken in the morning. That is the habit. But it may not be optimal. A major trial, the hygiachronotherapy study, followed over 20,000 patients for 6 years. It compared those who took their medication in the morning with those who took it at bedtime. The results were remarkable. The bedtime group showed nearly 50% lower rates of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular death. Same medications, same doses, different timing, dramatically different outcomes. Look for licorice root, glycyrrhiza, sweet root, or natural flavoring. If it is in your evening tea, move it to the morning or remove it entirely. Second, if you want to try hibiscus tea, do it properly. 10 grams of dried flowers, water at 90 degrees, steep for 10 to 15 minutes, deep burgundy color, 1 to 2 hours before bed, and inform your doctor if you are on medication. Third, write down 3 words: ABPM, microalbumin, oxidized LDL. Keep that note with your insurance card. That is your agenda for your next appointment. And ask one more question: whether your medication could safely be moved to bedtime. Before I close, I want to share something with you. In 18 years of practice, I have stood at bedsides after strokes and heart attacks. I have had conversations with families I will never forget. In many of those cases, especially in patients over 60, the warning signs were already there. in data that was never collected, in nighttime readings nobody ever took. I am not telling you this to scare you. I am telling you because you now have something many people do not: specific, actionable, targeted information. Next week, I will talk about 5 signs your medication dose might no longer be right for you, the ones doctors often miss. Take care of yourself. Your family needs you here. I'll see you next week. Dr. Ray.